There's not a whole lot we lose. We try.
You lose it.
That's why, sometimes people say, we're doing everything we can to.
Well, it might be a way to engage them and get a little
Well,
learning.
something like that, yes, it would, because it's different, getting them out, and it's different. To read that math, that's
Yeah, no. Someone will reach out to us. Oh, did you get it out? Yeah.
yeah, I think it's generated.
We're always trying to figure out how to do something with kids too. That's part of what we do.
Yeah.
This Friday afternoon, we suspect that they're playing because the kids are all in school. It's a good way to get them engaged and kids that can't, maybe don't have the wherewithal to go out there to check it out. I'll get to check it out this time. They may not have the money or whatever. So this gives them, they can walk through and see the vendors. And they get,
It's a great idea.
get a white tea for something they can or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Carry each day and go get them close everything. Print it off.
Your husband looks pretty sporty in the morning when he goes out.
What do you think of that problem?
He saw him this morning, came with the car.
I don't know where that is. It's across from Highway.
Oh, the little restaurant there? It's got a, the front wall of it, the front basement wall needs to be replaced.
Yeah, how much was that?
Probably 25 grand.
Did you really?
I didn't have a half acre.
Oh, I did too, but I had to pick up the kids. You want this?
Very much is right now, it's just, it says the season.
Mine's only 5 years old.
Needs a little work, needs some work. Yeah, I mean, it's serviceable, you can fix it.
Why isn't anybody jumping on that?
It was donated to Big, and Big sold it to Scott Walker.
Scott Walker that used to work over here? I know Scott Walker.
He owns it.
Yeah, I'm gonna buy his refrigerator. So I
Talked to him about that, he's got that.
have his phone number, yeah.
Yeah, well,
Either it's 25 to 50, you think?
foundation.
Yeah.
And what, I don't know what the inside's like, I have no idea.
I like to decide.
And then,
I never got hold of the realtor to come down and open it. Would you buy it?
I had a use, but I don't have a use for it, so I
Yeah.
don't know.
I was thinking, would that make housing?
you give them A for effort. Right?
I mean, you could,
Yeah.
just have to, I mean, you'd have to do a full renovation, because there's no
Yeah.
housing.
So you probably end up putting 100,000 into it.
Yeah, probably, easily.
Save me, you saved me a lot of work.
Pressure's on that, you get.
The land bank, by the way, does not prevent legal action. You do land bank? I'm just doing it. I'm reading the book on real estate.
All right, if everybody could have their microphones turned on. All righty. I will call the Monday, February 26, 2024 council meeting to order at 6 p.m. Welcome, everybody. Roll call, all councilors are present. This evening, Councilor Lovewell will be sharing the invocation with us. All right. Please join me in an attitude of prayer. We pray for our country at all times, that the citizens are safe, healthy, and happy. We pray for wisdom for all those who guide and govern. Help this government body in every situation to know and to do the things that are right and just, with soundness of judgment and making vital decisions. We pray for the peacemakers, that the holy life-giving spirit may ever dwell in their hearts,
and the barriers of fear, suspicion, and hatred may fall. This we pray to the Holy Father. Amen.
So join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item number 4 on the agenda this evening is a declaration of any conflict of interest. Manager Thompson has diligently been adding this to the agendas of some of the other committees for their meetings and thought that it might be good for us to make sure that we have this on our agenda moving forward as well. So that's why you see it on there. So at this time, if anyone has a declaration of any conflict of interest, you can declare that now. Okay, thank you. Item number 5 will be public forum. Danielle, did anyone send anything in for public forum this evening? No. Okay. Is there anyone here from the public who wishes to speak? Mr. Haney, come on up. Please state your name and address.
Yeah, Troy Haney, 236 Van Buren Road. Just wanted to publicly thank Gary Marquis, one of our city employees, came out and gave up his Saturday to help us fight Mother Nature as the Snow Bowl, the second annual Snow Bowl comes this weekend. You know, a lot of trails are closed and lack of snow is causing problems, so he helped us, along with Williams Construction, haul in over 200 loads and place it of snow to make sure we have the track in order to have the event, and invite everybody in the public to support our local restaurants that probably need the help right now because the sledding is so low. And we have a restaurant rumble on Thursday night, and most every restaurant in town is partaking in that. And Friday night's a Las Vegas show at CPAC, a magician mentalist show, so, and Saturday, Sunday at the track. So I'd like to formally invite everybody to come on out, but most importantly, thank the people that are helping us make it happen. So, thank you.
Thank you very much. Item number 6, well, actually 6, 7, and 8, we do not have any agenda items for those, so we can move on to item 9 on the agenda, reports by staff and committees, and 9A would be the financial report. Carl.
Good evening, Mayor, Councilor, and Manager. Tonight, doing January financials. On page 2 is the narrative, or the notes. I'm doing tonight's comparisons based on last January. So moving over to page 3. The assets on hand as January 31st of 2024 is $13,468,933.28. Cash on hand, $7,058,364.26. About 3/4 of the way down the page, the 2023 tax receivables for the month that we collected was $73,849.54, bringing our 2023 commitment down to $664,883.68, and we collected 91.6% of our total commitment. It's about 0.5% less than last year at the same time frame. The next line down underneath, the 24 tax receivables, we collected $45,118.43 in the month of January. Total prepayments are at $136,269.29. On the next page, on the bottom, we have the liabilities. Ending for the end of the month was $9,245,940.63. Moving over to page 7, the fund balance at the bottom of the page, we ended at $4,222,992.65. Moving over to page 10, our expenses for the month of January came in at $791,868.72, and compared to last January, it's down about 5.8%. Moving over to page 15, our revenues for the month came in at $559,530.49, and to last January, we're up 7.3%. Side notes for the excise tax for January, we came in at $103,638.94. And that is a little over $7,000 compared to last January, or 7.4% increase. Revenue sharing for the month of January, excuse me, we're at $192,190.34, and this is about $20,000 more than last January, about 12%. Moving over to page 18 is our graph for the month, and we are showing the revenue sharing trend over the last 5 years. I do have February's total, or as of right now, it's at $220,000. So that is about $23,000 more than last February. So things are looking good as far as revenue sharing. That is my report, unless anyone had any questions.
Does anybody have questions? Yes, Councilor Smith?
On the revenue sharing, is that because we're getting more money, or is it because we've budgeted lower for it? You know,
So we haven't, the budget hasn't been set for 2024.
we're
It's strictly on comparing it to last January.
last year. Okay.
We're about 20,000 more than last year.
Okay.
And revenue sharing is based on the state sales tax. So whatever
that
goes through,
changes.
and then they divvy it out based on the formula of population and a bunch of other criteria.
Okay. That's the only thing I had. Thank you.
Does anyone else have questions? Okay, thank you, Carl.
Well,
Thank you.
Motion to accept the financials as proposed.
Second.
Motion seconded, discussion? Bagley?
Aye.
Kelly? Aye. Lovewell?
Aye.
Morrow?
Aye.
Smith?
Aye.
Terrio?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Okay, item number 9B is the city manager's report.
First, I want to say thanks to Carl. I love the graph, and I love seeing the revenue sharing. I like that a lot. It's very visual. So on the riverfront power plants, the 30-day comment period is open on our analysis of brownfield cleanup alternatives. And the EPA sent a contractor to board up the steam plant, and that was big news. Events and marketing, the trails are open-ish. Have fun, be safe, and please patronize our Caribou businesses. And Mr. Haney touched on that too. I have gone in, it's probably no surprise that I do eat out from time to time. You can see that. And I always ask, like, how has business been? And everyone has said that it's been much slower this winter. So we really have to try to patronize our businesses and keep them going. And one day last week, I actually had stopped to pick up some lunch and to go. And there were some snow sledders, and I said, thanks for coming to Caribou and patronizing our businesses. And like, where else are we going to go? You've got the best food. So I was so happy to hear that. So there will be an eclipse on April 8th, 2024. Caribou is in the path of totality, and the Snow Bowl starts this week. Land Bank, Councilor Bagley has information to present about moving forward with the Land Bank initiative. This will be on the March 25th City Council meeting agenda. The Federal American Rescue Plan Act, the letters of interest were submitted since the last meeting, and staff received word that both projects meet the eligibility requirements, and therefore the city has been invited to submit a full application. So we are currently working on that. The Caribou Development Committee met on February, I'm guessing this was not February 27th, since that's tomorrow. And the Housing Symposium was February 22nd, and the next meeting is March the 5th. Riverfront Master Plan, staff has received a partial notice to proceed for NEPA review, but not a partial notice to proceed for the Riverfront Master Plan. The Spring Facade Improvement Grant period is now open, and March 15th is the application deadline. The Caribou Economic Growth Council met on Thursday, February 22nd. Business outreach, our business newsletter is actually at the printers. I thought I would have it mailed out by now, but anyway, it's at the printers, and when I get it, I've got the labels all ready to mail, and it will have information about the eclipse and tips for businesses. A lot of our restaurants are closed on Monday, and the eclipse is on Monday, so we're hoping maybe some of them will be open for the eclipse. So tax acquired property is the next thing. So this was something that was discussed at the housing symposium, was about tax acquired property and things that the city might be able to do to make that more attractive to a developer, for them to purchase that from the city, rehab it, get it back on the tax rolls. The housing symposium in general, it was very well attended. There were about 42 people there, and I actually talked to someone else today. I mean, we've had, even after the meeting, a lot of people have reached out from that, so it was very worthwhile. So Nylander Dino Days was held during February break, and I did have a note from Peter today that they had 331 kids for programming throughout the week. And this does not count their parents or single adults who came into the museum. Yep, and the museum board was incredibly helpful, with over half of them volunteering their time to assist with running the programs and keeping the museum open.
Cool.
So 331. I know every time I drove by there when I was out and about with my stuff, always cars everywhere, cars across the street, people running across the street. So it was something people seemed to be super excited about. The airport, there will be a Teams meeting with Stantec on the airport's DBE program, March 5th at 10:30. There's more information about that on our website. That's about supporting disadvantaged businesses and airport contracting. The comp plan update, NMDC and city staff are working on the various sections. I think we'll also have some good things to incorporate into the plan based, again, on the housing symposium. There were some really interesting things that came out of that too. And the LD 2003 implementation, the planning board received a document for their review from NMDC. Age-friendly efforts, there'll be a planning luncheon at Cary for those with ideas for age-friendly projects, and that's going to be tomorrow at 11:30. The assistant to the chief of police, Anna Robinson, has started work at the police station. The DOT Village Partnership, we will be having a kickoff meeting on Friday the 1st. Aroostook Waste Solutions, their next meeting is March the 1st. Lisa has housing things on March the 1st. Someone else wanted to set up some things, and I was like, what? Everybody wants to do everything on March the 1st. I wish we could spread it out. But Cary Medical Center, the 100th anniversary of Jefferson Cary's vision for a Caribou Community Hospital, will be celebrated in 2024. Other updates, thank you to all who attended the housing symposium on Thursday. And for administrative approvals, the city clerk's office has approved for vendors at the Snow Bowl. I would take any questions anybody might have.
Questions? Oh, you have a comment? Question?
Yeah.
Go ahead, yeah.
Yeah, I'll go through. On the facade improvement, is that still only going to be in the TIF district?
Well, that's going to be in the downtown TIF district, but if we can get through budget, then we're going to work on one for the RC2 TIF district too, because I have received information from DECD that based on the letter of approval we have for that district, we can start a facade improvement grant there too.
Okay, so that wouldn't probably happen until
It won't happen until later, so the one that's open right now. Well, I mean, we can start it in the summer. I mean,
Yeah.
people can work on it in the
Second
summer.
round.
It's just,
Okay.
it's just going to take some time, and when we get done with the budget, then I can devote some time
Okay.
to just revamping the, and then work with the council too, because the council will need to approve the application, approve the program. It's got to be approved in the budget, because we have it budgeted for this year. But until the budget's approved, you know, we didn't have that much in it for last year, so we're kind of working on last year's budget, which didn't include the facade improvement grant for the RC2 TIF district.
As always, we'll say again, one of my favorite things.
Yep.
The second one I'd like to bring up on the Dino Days. I had an opportunity to get down there Wednesday at lunch, briefly. Place was packed, full of kids. I drove by. They're across the street.
Yeah.
I was only there for a few minutes. It was excellent. I'd like to thank our group for doing that. And then, so the assistant to the chief, we filled that position. That's
Yep.
over
Yeah,
3
over a
years.
year.
Been
Yeah.
over a year, so that's a good
Yeah.
to fill that. So that'll help.
Can't wait to start handing off some of the police station work.
Yeah, perfect. So that's all I have to say on that.
Anybody else have any questions or comments on the manager's report? Thank you, Penny.
Thank you.
Okay, item number 10A is the Horizons Youth Council, and Counselor Bagley has worked on this, and there is a PowerPoint presentation that's been printed in your packets that everyone has access to. Where this has been actually put in as an ordinance, it looks like ordinance number 23 of the 2024 series. I would invite Counselor Bagley to share the ordinance with us, and then we could have him present during the public hearing that we'll establish down the road.
Very good. Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm really excited to be presenting this proposal this evening. As the mayor mentioned, I've been working for the last couple of months and coordinating some things. It's an idea that I had based on the realization that we really don't have a mechanism for the youth of our community to have an input to what we do and how the city is run. So you have in your packets a few slides that kind of describe the concept as well as that draft ordinance. I'm also very pleased that Jane McCall, our superintendent from RSU 39, is here with us to share her perspectives on the idea and to help answer any questions that you might have on the school district side of things. So thank you for the opportunity. So what is a youth council? The Horizons Youth Council is a joint initiative between the City of Caribou and the RSU 39 School District. It would be an official advisory committee to the city and the City Council made up of high school students to provide input and recommendations to us, based on their perspective, as well as our advisory boards and committees, should there be a need and an interest in do that. They would also be planning and implementing, executing like community-based service events. That would be part of what they would do as part of their outreach to that youth community, to bring in kind of those perspectives and opinions. So we're thinking that a group would be a group of 7, kind of to mirror our group, composed of high school juniors and seniors who would be competitively selected by the school district itself, primarily the high school. They would have a nominating process whereby they would be selected and nominated to us for appointment. We would want to try to keep the mix very wide in terms of spectrum and a mix of talents and interests to ensure that we have kind of a very diverse set of opinions and perspectives. So that's what it is. What they would do.
Counselor Bagley, sorry, not to interrupt you, but could you, if you would just introduce the ordinance, then you could do the presentation when we have the public hearing.
Certainly.
That would be wonderful. Just so we do it like we do most ordinances, we introduce them and then we do the presentation during the
Thank you
public
for
hearing.
that, yeah. So I hereby introduce the following ordinance. I had it drafted number 23, 2024 series. I believe that, Penny, that is going to be 2.
Ordinance 2.
Ordinance 2, 2024. So the text of the ordinance would not change except for the numbering. I think the section numbers would change from 25 to 2. So as you walk through here, it goes through, like some of the other committees we put in place, it goes through the goals, the appointment and tenure, responsibilities, and all of that is reflected in the briefing that I'll go over now. They'll put together their own bylaws. There will be no compensation or benefits. There won't be any initial funding. All operating funds, if there are any, will be self-generated and stored in city accounts. And we would ask them to report out every year, what they've done over the past year and what they have planned for the next year. And so realize that this is, because it's a school council, we'll be doing it on a school year basis. So we'll be running from school year to school year, you know, with a new group of kids every year. Is that it?
Perfect, thank
Okay.
you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
So, going back to the slides, so what?
Councilor Bagley?
Yes.
Excuse me, sorry. We're going to go over the slides when we do the public hearing.
Oh, okay.
When we do the public hearing down the road, we'll do your presentation during that time. So you'll present your slides and we'll invite questions from the audience and the council at that time.
Understood.
Today, we need to just introduce the ordinance so that we can have the public hearing.
Gotcha.
Thank you.
Okay, so before we go to questions and discussions, I'd like to invite Mrs. McCall to provide her perspectives on it.
Please.
Since you're here.
Thank you for hearing me. So yes, Councilor Bagley came and met with me actually a few weeks ago and introduced this. And as you know, I've mentioned to you in the past that I am looking for ways for us to continue to look at new ways to collaborate together between the school and the city council. And I did share with Councilor Bagley that one opportunity that I might see this as a fit is you've heard me talk about probably in previous settings, the extended learning experiences that sometimes students have an opportunity to do, so this might be a possibility for the future. So if the council so chooses to move forward with this in the future, then I look forward to working with you in this partnership.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jane. So do we need, Madam Mayor, do we need a motion for putting this on for a public hearing? Or
Well,
we
we
can
can
just
set
do
that. Do you have everything you need for the introduction of the ordinance?
We're good. We just have to schedule it.
Okay. So we can
Require a
certainly, okay, we can schedule that. I would
The only thing
say,
that's going to change is it's going to say ordinance 2 instead of 23. But everything else in the language is fine, like
looks
the
good.
23 dash, that's all.
I tried to model what we had done on
Yeah.
previous ones.
Yeah.
I would say one of the April meetings, we could maybe schedule it for that time. Or do we have just the one? So April 22nd?
Okay.
What are the wishes of the council?
So moved. Hold the public hearing on April 22nd.
I'll second that. If that's is that a motion? Yeah. I'll second that.
I didn't hear the date, please.
April 22nd? Because we just have that meeting in April.
Sorry.
Okay, any further discussion on that? Bagley?
Aye.
Kelly? Aye. Lovewell?
Aye.
Morrow?
Aye.
Smith?
Aye.
Terrio?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you both.
So Jane?
Thank you.
Okay, item number 10B. This has to do with the first of a couple DOT overweight agreements. This is on page 34 of your packet.
I'll make a motion to approve construction over limit permit for Maine Department of Transportation for the project numbers 260-6500, 260-6700, and 264-3000 along US Route 1A and Route 161.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion. Bagley?
Aye.
Kelly? Aye. Lovewell?
Aye.
Morrow?
Aye.
Smith?
Aye.
Terrio?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Item 10C is another DOT route agreement. That is on page, hold on, 49 of your packet.
49, wait, they had.
Madam Mayor, I make a motion to approve a Constitution over limit permit for Maine Department of Transportation for their project numbers 2773-200, 2773-400, 2773-600, and 277-4000 on US Route 1 and Route 89.
Second.
Motion seconded. Any discussion on this one? Bagley?
Aye.
Kelly? Aye. Lovewell?
Aye.
Morrow?
Aye.
Smith?
Aye.
Terrio?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay. Item 10D. We've got the 2024 municipal budget, and Penny, did you want to give an overview before we start hearing presentations?
Sure. So again, tonight, we're going to hear from departments on their expense budget. You also have the capital budget in there also. I don't have revenue from everyone yet. I hope to by Friday, because I have to turn in my budget to you Friday. And so we have several departments to get through, and we're going to start with housing and FSS, which is going to be presented by Lisa Plord, the Caribou Housing Authority Director.
Perfect, thank you, Lisa, come on up. So this is item 10E. So this is for departments 24 and 96.
Correct. Good evening. I'm going to start with 24 first. That is the Caribou Housing Authority. Our budget this year is pretty straightforward. We only have a couple of significant increases. The main one is regular pay. You'll notice it's a 33.59%. Mainly with the difference with that is we took two line items, the regular salary and the part-time position, which I'm glad to say we finally got a great candidate for, and we filled that last year, and we combined those two lines together. So that's a significant increase there. Besides that, printer ink, as we know, office supplies are going up quite a bit. Computer maintenance is going up to keep our trustworthy Bob and keep our computers running. Considering housing, the 99% of our stuff is run off the computer and the internet. So we really rely on him a lot. The other increases is education. With my part-time person coming in, I'm going to hopefully get her trained on a lot of stuff this year. Goals is, right now, she's looking at possibly taking a future job full-time next year, if not sooner. The other main increase is, let's see, communication, and that's our internet line, and health insurance. With part-time person coming on, not so much that well myself, had to switch that over. So, otherwise, it's pretty straightforward for Department 24. It's mainly salaries and benefits, or health insurance, sorry.
Lisa, basically your department or department account number 24 has no true bearing on our overall municipal operating, is that correct?
Correct. We are considered, Penny, correct me if I'm wrong, we're considered an enterprise account, so any expenses that the city of Caribou may spend on us is reimbursed.
100%.
100%. And the same thing goes with Department 96.
If you want, just roll right into that line. If
Department
anyone has
96,
questions, we can save those for the end.
Yep, she doesn't have a whole lot of increases there, being a department of one. This is a completely grant position, so we are limited on increases there. Slight increase in salary, and the same thing with office equipment. She's due for a new office computer this year, so, and a new printer. That's pretty
But again,
simple
that's
there.
covered by your grant.
Correct. That is completely grant strict. Yep.
Wonderful. Does anyone else have any questions for Lisa?
I did. I just wanted to double check the number on the health insurance back on 2401, because that seems like an astronomical increase, and I just wanted to ask the question about going from $2,800 to $28,000 for health insurance and why that was.
Health insurance last year, I did not take myself. I did the buyout. Unfortunately, my husband's plan went up astronomy, so I took on the city health insurance plan this year for a family of four.
Okay, so it wasn't like it just increased, you just
No,
didn't have it?
I was not on it last year.
Okay.
This year I am.
Okay, got it.
Correct.
Thank you.
Just, I think we've talked about this in the past, in the years, and that could make a department go one way or the other, depending on who you hire, if they have family plans.
Correct. And that's also considered part of the reimbursement, like I said.
Some people don't need it, and then in your instance, you bought in.
Correct. Any other questions?
Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Lisa.
Thank you, Lisa.
So next we have our Fire and EMS Chief, Brian LaJoy, presenting Department 31, which is Fire and Ambulance.
Welcome, Chief.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, City Councilors, City Manager, Danielle. Here tonight to go over the expense part for the Fire and Ambulance Department. I'm not necessarily going to go through every line this evening because some are unchanged from the previous year, but I'd like to touch on the ones that have changed. Starting off, in new equipment, we did have an increase in that line. I'm recommending an increase in $2,000 in that line, and just because I'm anticipating some new equipment purchases, 2024, we have a gas meter that will need to be replaced as it's an older piece of equipment. And now that we have a side-by-side, we're going to be looking at not only doing rescues for snowmobiles, but also wildland firefighting and grass fires. So there's some equipment there that would have to be purchased also to help us with that. Moving down to line 015 for cell phones. Like everything else, prices are going up for everything. We have iPads in all our ambulances, so the guys use those in order to do all our run reports throughout the year that we do with the ambulances, so increase there on the contract for that. We also did obtain a cell phone for the fire department as a backup phone. We ran into trouble last summer where we lost our phone lines and we had no phone service at all, which put us in quite a bind. We have backup phones at the station, but those were inoperable also. So with the help of Penny, we've gotten that, I believe, fixed for now. So, but we still would be nice to keep that backup phone just in case. You never know what's going to happen there. So, so I'm looking at an increase in that line in $2,000 because we did have quite an increase. Our next line, 017, just a small increase there for internet, which was only by $100. Moving on to line 019, miscellaneous expenses. I'm looking at, I'd like to increase that line by $1,000. We did have overspending on that line last year, and this covers miscellaneous purchases throughout the year that really don't have a line item per se to put them under. So it just gives me a little room to work with there for that. Next line, 027, our electricity took a big hike this year with the increased rates. I'm finding that we had a big increase there. Also, through the summer months with all the heat we had, we were running our cooling pumps for the air conditioner quite a bit, so I think that gave us a big increase there also. I'm hoping that line will come down, but I'd like to increase that line by $3,000 to give me some leeway there for coverage. We've been doing some work throughout the department as far as lights, putting things on timers and such, so hopefully our consumption will go down for 2024. Line item 030, building supplies. I'd like to increase that by $1,400. We had an overage on that line in 2023. Back in the spring of 2023, we ended up taking out our old HVAC air movement handler in the department that was been there since the building was built. It was basically inoperable from the time it was installed. So we've made a big storage room out of that area now, and we've turned that into a gear washing area for our turnout gear. We were able to obtain a dryer, extractor washer through the county ARPA grant. So we've set up that room now. It's strictly done for gear, washing and drying, so we needed to get painting supplies and things like that to dress up, because it was quite dark and gloomy in there, so we've brightened up that area quite a bit now and made quite a transformation of it, so I'm anticipating just a little increase in that line. Building maintenance took a big hit on that, and that was basically because of the HVAC room also. We had to call in a plumber to come plumb in some lines for us for the washers. So we have three gear extractor washers now, and then we have our house washer and dryer also. So we had to make some adjustments there, so that come out of our building maintenance. Also, some electricians had to come in and run some extra circuits for all that stuff, so. I'll move all the way down to line 051, equipment maintenance. Again, another line that took an overage. I'd like to increase that by $5,000, and basically our equipment repairs seem to be going up. During COVID, a lot of the parts that we needed were, because of supply and demand, were basically put on back order. So we're finding now that those parts are coming available, so we're finally able to make the repairs that we're able to put on the back burner and get those repairs done. So that took a big hike on that line there. And with the cost of everything going up, I'm anticipating the equipment line the maintenance line will need an increase there. Line 067, our paid call firefighters. That line also needs to, I'd like to see an increase of $5,000, and that would basically, that money there is what we use to pay our paid call firefighters at the end of the year for the work that they do for us. And this increase in $5,000 is just to make an adjustment to go along with the minimum wage increase that occurred in 2024. So that's to bring us closer to get that number there. Line number 070, our uniforms took a huge hit in 2023. We ended up hiring 3 new employees in June, which all needed to be outfitted with new clothing, gear, boots, everything. So that, and also with me taking the job as new chief in May, some attire had to be changed around there, so that took a big hit. I'd like to increase that line by $2,000 just to make some adjustments. I'm hoping that line will stay fairly constant now in 2024, although we did lose 1 employee in December, so I'm anticipating we'll have to do some shopping for clothes and stuff once we hire somebody, but it won't be anything significant like it was last year. Boots below that, just increased by $500, and that's just because of the increase in cost for boots. Like everything else, it's prices go up on everything. Line number 073, vehicle repairs. Again, another line that took a huge hit in 2023, and again, we're playing catch up with getting everything repaired. We're having a lot of DEF issues, so that is very costly to get everything fixed. Most everything that we have is out of warranty now, so we're having to broaden the cost on getting everything repaired. We've also kind of lost our in-house repair guy. He's doing some education now and family life. He's found that he just not has the time anymore to spend on our vehicle maintenance. He's willing to still take care of our pumps for the fire trucks. So I've created a good relationship with one of the shops in town. They've been very receptive on taking anything that we have that needs repair and getting us in because of the emergency equipment, and they've been treating us real well, so that's where the increase I'm anticipating for 2024. We probably would be advisable to increase that line by at least $9,000. Gasoline, I'd like to increase by $1,500. One of our ambulances now is a gas job compared to our fleet. The majority of it was all diesel, and now we're finding that we have to purchase gas vehicles now. So there is an increase there as far as gasoline usage because of that unit. That unit gets gassed up probably every other day, and depending on our call volume. So diesel. Actually, I have one that I'm willing to that I can bring down. I'd like to decrease that one by $10,000. I feel that's a comfortable spot to be in. And the decrease, we've had a decrease in transport south, so we're not using as much diesel. And obviously, within ambulance using gas, that is decreasing our diesel consumption also. Call volume has a big deal with that also. If we have more fires, we tend to use more diesel that way. So that's, and of course the cost on what it is. Line item 077 batteries is just a slight increase of $300 on that line. Field expenses 078, just a slight increase of $200 on that line. Down to 080, which is our paid callback line. That line there is when there are no full-time people available to call in while we are out on calls. We have to maintain 4 people at the fire department at all times. We go down to our paid call staff that are trained in EMS and fire. That took a big hit in 2023 because we were shorthanded January through June. We ended up being down 3 people at that time. We're actually down 4 because we still have 1 out on injury, workers' comp. So the volunteers have been taking the slack on that, but it also took an increase in that line. So I'm looking at possibly increasing that line by $5,000 to bring us where we need to be. And okay. Line 085, our transport meals. I feel comfortable with decreasing that by $2,000. We have a decrease in our long-distance transfers, so the guys aren't spending as much on meals, so that would be sufficient on decreasing that by $2,000. And medical supplies, line 087, again, medical supplies are increasing cost every day. So an adjustment on 08701, which is our ambulance supplies, I'd like to increase that by $2,500. If you can see in 2023, the actual, we spent just a little over $11,400 on that line. We had budgeted $11,000, so I'm suspecting that increases there. Our oxygen was up significantly. I've managed to lock in a new contract for 2024. The company has matched competitors' pricing, so I'm hoping that line will come down, but I did want to increase that by $500 just to keep us covered. And last one, 08703, our medical supplies. Again, another line that takes a big hit with the cost of everything. I'd like to increase that by $2,500 to cover us there. So, with all the increases I had throughout the year for 2024, looking at about a 5% increase in our budget compared to 2023 actual expenditures. So That's about all I have. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them for you.
I have a question, and this is just because I'm new and I don't know the answer to this. Do you have a reserve that you set aside for like new large equipment, say fire trucks and things like that?
We used to have reserves at one time. Those are taken away. In my capital for this year, I've tried to put some money in there so we can bring that back. 2027, we're going to have our ladder truck is due for replacement, which is going to be a huge replacement cost for the city. Looking at it, probably at least $1 million for that piece of equipment. So I think that is something that the council should look at, is bringing those reserves back where we can put money every year and put away, because it's a lot easier to swallow when you have some money set aside for that instead of one big lump sum, so.
Agreed. I have a question about that real quick, on that ladder truck, because I did see that in the capital request. So what is wrong with the ladder truck we have now?
Well, once you get over 20 years old on fire apparatuses, the testing that we do, stuff starts wearing out, basically. I can tell you that we have our ladder truck tested every year. I just went through some testing here just about a month ago. We did have issues where there's going to be a repair coming up. That's probably going to cost us about $50,000 in order to get it up to the standards that it needs to be at. After 20 years, as far as pump testing and stuff, those ratings start going down as far as the results. So the ISO plays a big part in this, in your insurance rates. They say once your truck is over 20 years old, it's not efficient enough, so without that, then you start having to raise your insurance rates.
And how often do we use that truck, would you say?
It's used for every chimney fire. If we have to do any water rescues, I could get you some actual numbers if you want.
That would be great,
Yeah.
because I think as we think about that purchase, it might be helpful for us to have more information on that.
And I know when they initially had purchased that truck, back in the 80s, when we first got our first ladder truck, it's a 75-foot aerial, and everybody's saying, why do you need a 75-foot aerial? There's really there's no buildings in Caribou that are that high, but it's not for that, it's for reach. When we have a structure fire, that truck will be at the road and it needs to reach, and most of our homes in Caribou and stuff are a fair distance away. But when you have snow to deal with and limited access in the driveways, you need to be able to get that piece of equipment and stretch it out, so.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry, did you have more?
No, that was my
Okay,
question.
thank you.
Thank you.
I got a couple of questions for you, please. You need to replace your vehicle, the chief's vehicle. How many miles do you have on that right now?
There's about 57,000 on it. It's 10 years old. It's starting to rust quite badly, so that's something I'm going to have to address this spring. The cab corners are starting to go, so.
Because that's not many miles.
Not many miles, no.
Could you get the rust repaired or something?
That's my plan, yeah.
Okay.
What my initial thought on that was, we don't have per se when we provide mutual aid to another town, as far as firefighting goes, the crews that show up, is usually we try to send at least 4 or 5 guys over. They end up taking an ambulance over there to the fire. So what happens there is that ambulance is put out of service. We can't respond with that ambulance because it's just firefighters in there, so we have to remove all the advanced equipment out of it. Not only that, is once they participate in the fire, fighting fire, when they get back in the ambulance, they're contaminating that ambulance because of their gear and all the soot and the cancerous, everything that we deal with now on firefighting. So my hopes was, the chief's vehicles, in my eyes, is up for replacement. I was hoping to
Yes.
get that fixed and have that as a mutual aid vehicle, because it's a four-man cab. That way they can put their gear in the back of the box, and we're not tying an ambulance up and contaminating an ambulance, and that way they'd have a pickup to use. And not only that is, when we have a structure fire ourselves, we generally don't have a truck to haul any of the equipment back, like the hose, air packs, things like
yeah.
that, so that would be utilized for that also.
And one more question I have is, have you ever considered, I noticed that one of your ambulances is up for, you're putting money in for that, a van for one?
I've heard that
just
conversation
one?
come up before.
Yeah, I've been at it for 4 years.
I'm glad you brought this up.
And I'm going to keep at it.
Please.
Because I think that at least just one would, well, I've seen this. A great big fancy new ambulance came to fix, next door to me, came to fix a fire, smoke detector. And another one came to pick up somebody. Well, you don't need the great big ones. I would think that a fan, and for short transports and stuff like that, they're a lot less money than a full ambulance. And I think it's something that should be considered for money saving.
Not for a full fleet, but just
No,
one
right,
vehicle.
one.
Just
Yeah,
one, to
just
have one.
to kind of, so that you didn't, you have it for, if you've got to take somebody from Caribou to Prescott, or something like that. Or go to pick up somebody that you don't need a full ambulance for, and non-transports, but you've got to, just in case they need a bandage or something like that. So I think it's something that needs to be looked at very, very hard to save that money, and I'm not going to let up until that happens.
Councilor Smith, did you have something to
Yeah,
add to that?
I believe last year, the capital improvement.
We did.
We looked at the instance of,
Oh, yeah.
5 ambulances, and I think it was brought to the fact that we could probably suffice with one van. Might not be perfect for all transfers. I think it was like a third of the cost.
Oh, yeah.
Was it a third?
Yeah.
We could get something set up for,
Yeah.
and
they've got the basics.
and you get the big, so that was, I think that's how we handled it last year.
We put out quite a bit of research into that,
Yeah,
too.
we did.
We did a lot of that, so I think I agree with Joan on that, because I was on the committee with you, and we looked at, out of 5 ambulances, if it was used correctly, for the certain, it's not for every aspect or every call, but I know it's hard for you to make that call when they go in and out, but if you're, out of 5, we could use the one.
But it would save wear
It was
and
a
tear.
third of the cost, I
Yeah.
believe,
Yep.
up close.
I think
Yeah,
that's what
a
it was.
little over a third, maybe,
Yeah.
yep.
We were looking at 120, 125,
Yeah,
or
not even-
somewhere.
It was 90, I think.
Or 90.
Mm-hmm. And it would save wear and tear on the other
It was
ones.
for the local.
Little bit
local
here and
trips.
there
So
and
I
stuff.
just wanted to thank you for bringing that up, because we had a lot of discussion about that last year.
Yeah, yep.
At that point. And while I'm at that, can I continue?
Yeah, go ahead,
I
continue,
got one
and
more
then
thing.
we'll-
I got one more thing here. You got 6701, which is the paid call firefighters, you're up 16%. That's because of minimum wage.
Yeah, yeah.
And then, how does that relate with paid callback on 080? You're just,
It's confusing, yeah, it's a little confusing in a way.
That's all. I understand the increase, but so you're
Yep.
assuming that we may have more paid callback, or more of those hours. at that
Especially in
rate.
2023, we were down three people basically, so,
Okay.
like I said, we have to try to maintain 4 people at the fire station all the time, so once we go through the full-time staff, we don't have anybody available to come in, we rely on our paid call members, and that is paid separately. It doesn't come out of the other account, so that's why there's kind of 2 of accounts. It's kind of confusing in a way, but when they're called in, they're paid for 2 hours minimum, just like the
So that one is
full-timers
just,
are.
that one is just for the wage, and the other one is based on what the needs and the coverage is.
Yeah.
And you don't know what that's gonna be. If you get a full
Right,
staff, that may
yeah,
go up,
it could drop way down,
or it could go up.
or it could go up, yeah.
That's all.
Just trying to anticipate a little change there.
Only questions I
you.
have. Only questions I
Councilor
have.
Morrow?
Just for information's sakes, having been a critical care technician for Caribou Fire and Ambulance for quite a few years, and having worked in the back of an ambulance, a van style and a cube style, I guess I'll call it. First off, when we replace the cube style, I'll call them, okay, basically we're maintaining the box, but usually you're just replacing the chassis, 9 times out of 10. So that's a significant deal right there. A van, I understand the concern about using a van just for so-called transports, but what can happen a lot of times is that if an ambulance crew, and especially if they're shorthanded, is leaving, let's say Cary, gets a request for a cardiac situation, and they gotta respond, okay, with that van, okay, first off, they're not gonna have the room in that van to work on a cardiac patient, let's say, or whatever, and they're not gonna go back to the fire station and switch rigs. I think that, I bet you if you sat down and actually compared the cost of replacing a chassis, okay, not a whole box, okay, versus the van style, and the maneuverability and the practicality, I guess I will say. I mean, I'm not in favor of spending money, but having been there and done it, okay, I can tell you, man, when you get a fairly large person in the back of one of these little vans and you're trying to do CPR or trying to do start an IV or something like that, it ain't fun. And it doesn't work. And that's why I think everything has gone that way. I mean, if we were just running a transport service, okay, I guess I'll call it, then I could see it. But if you're going to be sending guys out to do a transport, we'll call it, but then all of a sudden they're going to be available to respond to an emergency call, then they've got to have room. I mean, it's. And I know what you're saying, okay, but I can tell you, having done it, lived it, it's tough. But anyways, that's just my opinion. So when the day comes, then we can look at what the deal is, replacing rigs or whatever. But it's my understanding that 9 times out of 10, I mean, a box will last you what? 2 or 3 chassis?
Yeah, and the fleet we have right now, they're called Braun boxes, which are very well built. You know,
Aluminum.
yeah, they're seamless, so they're made to last. So
Right.
they're able to be remounted over and over again. So
Which that's a big deal.
yeah, it is, and it is cost savings too. So and just to add what Councilor Morrell said also, being an advanced life support station, we have additional equipment that we need to carry, and I don't really think it's going to fit in the van.
Well, yeah, that's the point.
That's good for discussion down the road. I mean, I'm more than happy to sit down with everybody, and we can have a full discussion on everything there, so, yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I agree on both sides. I agree on both sides,
They've
yes.
improved them a lot.
It's been a good kind of
We're getting into-
discussion
we're-
on that, so, yeah, back to the budget here.
we're expense budget. We're
Does
getting-
anyone have any other questions on the expense budget?
Madam Mayor, if I may? So what I look for in the budgets, and you've done a very good job at this, thank you for presenting, and what I go through is I look at actuals versus, or requested versus actuals last year, and there's still quite a few of the line items as I go through that I'm seeing the same amount asked for this year as was last year, yet you didn't spend anywhere near what you had asked for last year. And so I don't want to actually step through each one of them. I give you a couple examples, but I wonder if you could look at that, again, and, just make sure that there's a real need for a justification for, asking for that amount again this year, even though you might not have come anywhere close last year.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay,
Yep.
thanks.
Anything further for the chief? Thank you.
Very welcome.
Okay, next up is item 10G, Department 70.
Yeah. So Carl is here to talk about 70, 80, and then Department 10, since it encompasses general government and the clerk and the manager's office. All of us can answer questions from 10, but if you have any questions for Carl on Department 70, he is here.
If you'd like, if you want to go through all 3, and then we can kind of hold our questions for the end, I think. That's fine, if you're presenting all 3.
Sure. So on Department 70, Just a couple things, we actually are decreasing our unemployment. Knock on wood, haven't had a lot of requests for that, and our rates have gone down, so we're lowering that by 25%, almost $4,000. The property insurance, actually it's a liability on our staff, where rates have pretty much leveled off there too, so we're decreasing that line item. That's 037 by 4%. But those savings I have put back in under comp appses 043, looking at a possible retirement this year. So pretty much it's an even in and out of about $5,000, so no increases on Department 70. Department 80, this is unclassified, and I just have one increase there under abatements. We had a lot of abatements, obviously, in 2023 because of reeval, and we'll probably see some of those linger over into 2024. So we're asking for an increase of $6,500 compared to the 2023 budget, moving that up to $20,000. And then in Department 10, on my section, all I had on Department 10 was requests for office chair. So on the equipment side of it, that was line item 014, increase there for $300 to get a new chair for one of my staff. And then, like Penny said, if you guys have any questions on Department 10, Denise and Penny both fall in, I'm sorry, Danielle and Penny both fall under Department 10.
Is there anything either of you would like to add under Department 10?
Well, under regular pay, regular salaries, we do have factored in a 2% COLA, and that is for all non-union, so that's library, well, library is presenting something different, but the rec department, general government, all department heads who, because they are not in a union, they are, they would be the 2%. I mean, we have employees that are in unions, and their increases are governed by the collective bargaining agreements, but department heads and the hourly staff that's in the other departments are not governed by those. We're also, it does have in the budget to add one new full-time position in general government. That would be like an assistant city manager. That term has been thrown out too. Last year, there was a question about the audit, and I do have a note in here that the audit amount is set by contract, and we had a 3-year bid process for that. I guess with dues, I guess I would just want to point out that professional dues is something that's different than like union dues. So professional dues are things like what we pay to the municipal, and then like the Finance Directors Association, the clerks, Maine Town and City Managers, the International City Managers Association. Those kinds of dues are what's paid in the different departments. It's not something that is related to unions or anything. So since we have added a new full-time position, that's increased lines like health insurance and Social Security, all of that. All those go up when you add a new position. And then under elections, there are going to be 3 elections in 2024, and our election workers are paid at minimum wage. And so because the state has imposed the increase of the minimum wage, then that we have to increase that also. Did you want to say anything else about elections, Danielle?
It also includes an extra tabulator for the November election, which is $3,000 for that one election.
That's a good point there, too. So I don't know if anyone has any questions on those, 70, 80, and 10?
Yes.
Okay. If there's questions about training, mileage, meals and lodging for training, because I know that Counselor Bagley, you said you look at what we actually spent. I know that myself, I wasn't able to go to any training last year we were very short-staffed, and I also got called for jury duty, and, I mean, it was like a calamity of errors, and then I can really only go on trainings when they don't conflict with a council meeting also. So the stars did not align, and you'll see that in not only general government, but also tax assessment, because I have had an assessment certification, which I was only barely able to do the minimum amount to keep it at a minimum CMA instead of an advanced assessor designation, which I had always had before. And it's the same thing. There just wasn't time, we're understaffed, overscheduled with meetings, and also jury duty, so all good times.
Does anybody have any questions about any of these three departments?
Yes, please.
Counselor Smith, you had your hand up?
We'll let him go first.
Okay, thank you. So I think I'm in need of a little remedial training here on 70. Can you just summarize again what that insurance and retirement? And so I would expect to see the city's contributions into retirement plans in those lines somewhere, is that right?
No, this is for administrative costs for retirement. Oh, your compensated absences? Is that what you're looking at?
Well, I was going to ask about that specifically as well, yes.
So that is if, when an employee leaves, if they have earned time, we pay that out through compensated absences.
Okay. Is there in this budget, our city's contributions into the retirement system? The
That's
matching
in
contributions?
individual departments. They all get costed retirement into each individual department.
So what's retirement part of this?
It's the
account?
administrative costs.
Okay.
To
I probably asked you
fund
this
the
last
plan.
year.
Yeah, no worries. Yep,
And it's just a little confusing, so, but I got it now. Thank you.
you're welcome.
That was it. Thanks.
Counselor Smith, you have questions?
Yeah, I got a question regarding the compensated absences. You got 25, well, you got $30,000 because of that. I did find it here, so we're going back to line 417, the compensated absences. We have 28,000. Does that relate to all departments? I mean, what's the total? I understand this one relates to Department 70.
Yes, it would relate to any department
So
that
that's
has,
all, so what we looking at 417 is what we have currently. And for everybody. Because I remember
are you looking on the,
general ledger, and going back to
so
that.
that's actually a deficit. We're underfunded by that amount.
Okay. Because this was a,
So 30,000 would just barely cover anything that happens this year. If everyone were to get done tomorrow, it's underfunded by that amount
that's what, because
on the general ledger,
because
we haven't funded it enough
a
over the
long time
years.
ago, this was a big number.
Yep.
We had a lot of money funded for it, and we peeled it down, and we were basing it, Joe, you can probably go back on this, we based it on, we were trying to figure out how many people were gonna retire in a 3-year period, because we had a big number saved, and we pared it down.
Right.
Am I correct on that?
Yeah.
So that's why I'm asking about it, as long as we have what we needed there to cover anticipated absences.
That's why I'm increasing it by 5.
Oh, that's why
Make sure
you're
we
increasing it.
cover,
Perfect.
can cover what retires this
To
year.
make sure that we, and there's always the unknown factor.
Right.
But we have to cover that anyway out of somewhere else. Okay, that's all I had on that.
Any questions? Okay, thank you.
So next we have general assistance, and Danielle, our city clerk and GA administrator, will answer whatever questions that you might have on the GA budget. Is there anything you want to point out there, Danielle, or?
It's that, GA budget is 70% reimbursed by the state. And then, we can normally get the other 30% back as well, if I file everything, which I do. So there's not any huge changes, it's based on people's needs, and what you see for a number might not be what actually happens. Unfortunately, we have to guess a lot with budgets, and if for some reason I have to use more state losses, then I have to. So this is, we're gonna say hopes covers everything, and if it doesn't, we just have to be careful in other areas, unfortunately.
Anyone have questions on that?
So this is one of them that was significantly higher than what we spent last year. And so can you just give me insight on, you know, as to why those went up so high? Change in state law required?
Well, there's our minimums that we have to accept every
Yeah,
year.
yeah.
Those all went up, so I have to pay more out.
Right.
Homelessness is big. A lot of people need help.
So you're getting a lot more clients in.
Yeah.
And you anticipate more this year?
Yeah.
Got it, thanks.
I'm keeping a little bit more busy in there.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay. So under 10K, Penny, what do we have left to talk about?
So we have, I can go through most of them fairly quickly. We have on your sheet number 66, that will tell you like what we have left here, which is economic development, tax assessment, health and sanitation, municipal buildings, the trailer park, cemeteries, and contributions.
Do you want to give us the highlights?
Yeah, I'm just going to give you the highlights. So
What page are we on here?
96.
36.
So, economic development, this one, there are some changes in here because we now have our development committee and they have some very clear objectives for the next year, some things that they want to do. So there's increases in the budget based on that. So the increases are because we didn't have those things, we didn't have those initiatives started at that time. So because of that, we're requesting additional funds for printing, additional funds for subscriptions, which would include Placer AI software subscription. Also, we have, every year we do the Groomer Reserve. Every year, there are different community events that we do. We have contractors that work on our social media. They do our website when we need to have things done on our business pages, which is like our Visit Caribou. They've also been helping us with when we have special events to create the artwork, to create events on Facebook. Our development committee is also looking, so we have budgeted in the past money for technical assistance with brownfields and other grants. Sometimes when we are applying for grants, we need to get technical assistance on something that maybe we are not skilled in-house to do, and we found that that has worked for us in the past to have someone who can produce those documents for us.
So for example, maybe environmental
Yes,
services,
exactly.
things like
It's
that.
it's a lot of it is environmental things that we wouldn't have. So we have an increase for new events also. We do have the Eclipse this year. Carrie is celebrating their 100th birthday. They haven't asked us for anything with that, but I mean, that is not to say that there might be something that, we decide to do for that. And the development committee wants to be doing more business outreach events to be able to, just let them know that the development committee is here to support them. We had an icebreaker in January to get all the different groups together that are working in Caribou. Got them all together. The comments and the feedback were that the other groups were happy to meet some people on other committees. They were excited about the work that they were doing with that. This one also, again, We want to start a facade improvement grant program in our RC2 TIF district, which is, if you think about like where the Caribou Inn is, and then you're going south on both sides of the road for a while. We're hoping to increase, we might have some new businesses locating out there. We have, the Caribou Inn has undergone a significant remodel there, and they're still working. They still are working towards getting a sign. So this is something that's been in the works. The council has expressed an interest. And again, if this is funded, then as soon as the budget's passed, we'll get working on that too.
And
So.
we'd also go ahead towards the new, the Old Crown Park Quality Inn, that would,
Well,
that include some of the...
They're in the downtown TIF. So,
are.
yeah, so they could apply for one now. In
They could
this,
apply
so.
one.
So does anybody have any questions on Department 11? So Department 11 is funded through captured value in the tax increment financing districts. This is not, this is another enterprise account, like what Lisa was talking about with housing and FSS. That's also economic development is funded through that.
So do we decide how those funds are spent, or who's making those decisions? Is it a committee, or? These different events, yeah, the TIF funds that are being spent on these different events and things that are.
Well, I mean, like I said, most of them are kind of in here, which is like Thursdays on Sweden Street.
Yeah,
Caribou
I'm just
Fairs.
wondering how that all comes out.
I guess a lot of
The
it,
process
just
of it.
always, we've always done them. If we were
Because
going to do something.
I have
new.
a reason for asking the question.
Yeah.
And that's just because, circling back to some businesses who've been putting a lot of effort, energy, and dollars into the community, who've been asking for requests from us recently, and we didn't have funds for them. I'm trying to help them to have funding from some source, and I'm trying to show our support. And I don't think that it seems very supportive if we have funds that we're pulling in and putting other places, and we're trying to show business support, but we're not supporting the businesses that are putting the most money and effort out in that way. So that's why I'm asking the question. Again, I'm going to continue to try to hunt down funds and ways to help, but I want to be as transparent and open that we want to help everybody that's trying to encourage tourism and local recreation and all those events and things that are happening here. So, if that makes sense. Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not calling on you like I should be calling on you. Hi, John.
Hey, how are you? Can I just get a couple quick questions? Okay, so I see line number 405-01. Okay, so we're going to budget $65,000 for slum blight removal. Okay, and if I'm reading this right, then we're going to set aside another $105,000 for a land bank seed?
No,
No?
I think that we have things that add in here, but no, the land bank, what we have for that is 20,000.
Okay,
Yeah.
so the removal, okay, fine,
So if you add up the two, which is the slum and blight, which is 65.
right?
And the 20,000 for land bank seed, so then it adds into the 80.
Oh, okay, fine. I mean, I just curious.
So then it ends up on the
I
next
don't think we get
page.
enough money
Yeah.
to clean stuff up, but
Yeah.
anyway,
That's a clarification.
cool.
Yeah. I can't seem to turn it off, totaling all these different areas. And I had a conversation with Trio again. I said, because it's sometimes deceiving in here because it looks like some of the times it's like adding things in twice.
Yeah,
It's
it
just
does,
that-
when you
and-
look right.
Yeah, it
visually.
totals really kind of randomly, I think, so.
Okay, did you
Any other
want
questions on that?
to set with that one? Move on to tax assessment?
Yep, so tax assessment is Department 22, and so for half the year, we did not have a code enforcement officer last year. So that's why you'll see that the actual number is less than what we're asking for this year for tax assessment. We'd also like to increase that salary so this person could also work as a planner. Right now, we have a lot of planning activities going on between the comprehensive plan, Riverfront Master Plan, our transportation plan. We're also starting to work on a housing plan, a housing study. So that's where that increase is in there. And again, that means your health insurance and all those other related lines also are increased as well. And again, on training, I think I covered that with the, in the other line. Our deputy was able to get his training in. The only training I took the webinar. At the end of the year, they had updated USPAP, so I was able to take their online class with the update, and that was able to satisfy the hours that I needed for that. There's not a lot of other increases there. Unless you have any questions, I can answer them for you.
I'm all set.
Go ahead.
So the next one is health and sanitation, which is Department 17. I don't believe there's anything significant here. This isn't one of our big spendy accounts here.
Yep.
We didn't have a big increase for AWS or for our fire protection from hydrants. Does anybody have any questions
That's good.
on that?
That's a new one.
So municipal building is Department 18. You'll see that the areas that have increased or decreased, it's because I looked at what our actual expenses were and made the adjustments accordingly. Our janitorial services, there is an increase, and that's because, again, we have a 3-year contract that went out for a competitive bid on that. Any questions on 18 municipal buildings?
No.
So trailer park, which is Department 61, that is actually closed now. So we're just, this is just kind of the cleanup. We were able to get, I say we, like I did anything, it was really Dave's guys, got the older trailers out. We do have some work to do in there this next year to get it redevelopment ready. We've got to take some poles out. A lot of our own staff does work on those things, but anyway, you can see in here, most everything shows decreases, and by next year, maybe we'll be able to just roll this into the airport, because this is actually part of the airport, so it'll just be one thing instead of the mobile home park. Cemeteries, which is Department 65. This is really something we are going to have to address at some point, because we have, some of our caretakers of our cemeteries are saying, we don't have anyone to take care of the cemetery any longer, so we're going to let the city do it, and, you know, here's your sign. And that's what's happening right now. So with the costs in fuel, I'm surprised actually even some of our bigger cemeteries that we're not hearing from them that they can't find someone to do this. Now, there is a legal requirement for municipalities to maintain veterans' graves and cemeteries. And so that is why the city appropriates money for the care of cemeteries. Our former clerk would say a lot. The city doesn't own cemeteries, and because we actually get people who come here a lot, don't we, Danielle? And yes, and they want to complain about the cemeteries, complain about the roads, the trees. Oh yes, they want to buy plots. They want to know where someone is buried. It's honestly all the time. But this is something, I didn't put any increases in here, but we are going to get to the point that some year we will have to increase what we're putting in our cemetery lines. Any questions in cemeteries? Seeing none, I'll move on to contributions, which is Department 75. Now, you will see that in your packet, I put all of, every person who gave us a request, I put in this budget, because I didn't want it to be said that I did not bring forward everyone's request. So I provided the council with a list. A lot of them I put under this, just kind of a generic, this 17501. And this is where I entered all the contributions that didn't already have a line item in here, like ACAP, Agency on Aging, they have their own lines. But we also received requests from Aroostook Council on Healthy Families, Camp Susan Curtis, Halfway Home Pet Rescue, Homelessness Services of Aroostook, Maine Public Broadcasting, Marine Corps Reserve Toys for Tots, and the Northern Maine Veterans Cemetery. So all of these are in the budget. I know that until a few years ago, the city council didn't fund any contributions. That their thinking was, instead of us raising money from the taxpayers for us to give us contributions, maybe we let people keep their money and they can donate that where they find that it is the most effective, so. And then the only other account that you have in the budget is capital, and the capital committee met today at 5 to go through the rest that they weren't able to get through in the first meeting. And I believe they'll have some of their thoughts together as a committee by the end of this week to send out to the full council. Yes, I would take any questions that anyone has about any of these things. And I guess I'm kind of hoping for some direction from the city council of, of anything that I've talked about, like contributions, what are your thoughts on that? What are your thoughts on some of the other, any of the other budgets, or just in general, what your thoughts are?
Councilor Morrow?
In regards to the contributions, I mean, I don't want to sound like I'm heartless or unthoughtful or something like that, because I have to be careful how I word this, but I almost agree with the philosophy, because looking at the list that's there, these are people that do significant charity fundraising, and that money, I don't know what the exact total number was, but could go to help offset other things, and I think these people would still have the ability to make up the loss that they would, I guess, receive because of our actions, but I think that they are in a better position to do it. Again, I don't want to sound heartless or something like that, but looking at our overall scope and our picture is, $200-300 here. I look at the cemetery thing, for instance, and I know somebody that has a cemetery they take care of. And it's a big deal. Fuel and all that, and if we had to take money from somewhere and put it towards something, that would be one avenue which I would do that, because cost of fuel and stuff like that, and manpower and trimming, and it's a big deal. If you want to look good, and a lot of these people, they take a lot of pride in how that looks. So I think that's a good offset, so that's my opinion.
Anybody else?
I think what bothers me about the contributions is we put ourselves into a position of picking winners and losers from among a lot of people who are asking. And, I, like Councilor Morrow, I don't want to seem hard-hearted, but it seems like the only way to deal with this is to eliminate the contributions as a rule, as a policy, and depend on the goodness of people in the community to donate to these very good causes. But I think that's the only fair way to proceed, in my opinion.
Councilor Smith?
I think I would agree with both of you. I guess because of the 7 of us here, we all have something that we would, out of the 20 things
That's
that
true.
we choose from.
Right.
And even if we had to talk in the past, let's set an amount of, I don't know, some amount, and then we split that out. But how do you do that?
Councilor Terrio?
I'm good with just eliminating contributions, that's all.
Sorry about that.
Go ahead, Joe.
Right, I agree too. We did this a few years ago, and it worked well, I thought, because, and again, yeah, you don't want to sound heartless, you don't want to sound like you're mean or whatever, but this is something that should be a personal decision within the community of where these people want their donation money to go. And I don't believe that we should be, as a city, deciding for them and taking it out of their tax money to put it into other, that they may not agree with or whatever. So I agree, each person, they have a cause or whatever, and they want to donate, that's up to them, but I think it's easier to say no to everybody, and then you don't have to pick and choose, because you're going to make somebody
Make
mad if
somebody
you
mad.
do. Yeah, so that's, I say it's a no.
Yeah.
I just want to say I'm in agreement with everybody on the council on that, so.
I am as
Can we
well.
decide that tonight? Can we take a vote and zero out the contributions? Would that be
I think
appropriate?
we can
No.
just,
I mean, that would be great, because then that would be one thing I can go forward and do that, so, yeah.
I move that we zero all line items in the contributions account
Second.
for 2024.
motion and seconded. Any further discussion? Bagley?
Aye.
Kelly? Aye. Lovewell?
Aye.
Morrow?
Aye.
Smith? Terrio?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
I just, again, I want to emphasize, I don't want people to get the wrong idea, but again, you know, it's picking and choosing, I don't like that. I mean, it's like picking between brothers and sisters, or which kid, you two kids you got, you know, one kid, you're perfect, you know, the other one, wow, I don't know.
We're not gonna have Sophie's Choice, man. Please.
Okay.
Is there any other guidance for me or for staff for, like, the budget that I have to send you by Friday? Is there things that you want to see, things that, I mean, I know Councilor Bagley asked the fire chief to look at some of his lines. Or is there something, I'm just looking for some feedback, because we are having a department head meeting tomorrow, so if you have some feedback, it would be good to.
Will Fridays include the capital improvement?
Yep,
I'll wait for mine.
And we've scheduled the 11th for a discussion, a kind of a workshop to go
Yep.
through and make amendments, propose amendments or whatever. I think it was an important part of the process. I'll have to say, I think the budget process has run so much better this year than it did last year. And I'm confident each of the staff department heads are really putting in an effort and looking across those numbers. And I appreciate that very much. So kudos to the manager and the staff.
I will be sure to tell them all that at the meeting tomorrow.
Please.
Okay. We do not have anything under old business, so item 12 on the agenda is reports and discussion by mayor and council members. Start down on this end this
Nothing
evening.
today. Nothing today. Oh, well, one thing, good luck. Good luck with the snowball. I mean, my grandson was up here last weekend. They did 400 miles of snow sled. 10 years old, him and Nick, and then they tore it and they went out there. And I said, Grampy, because he was going to come up this weekend, but good luck. I mean, I hope it all works out, so.
Nothing.
Only to say that I understand that we're getting calls and people are coming in or whatever concerning the lack of streetlights in certain areas. And we will be holding a highway safety committee meeting in the month of March, and that is part of the discussion. And so rest assured that it will be discussed and probably will be able to rectify that. I just want to, so anybody that wants to get in touch with anybody, we're working on it. We'll be working on it.
Thank you. Councilor Smith?
Yeah, not much, just to go back to the Nylander thing, had the opportunity to get down there Thursday, and I guess the week was really busy with school, so it was really great to see the place. I think that's what the direction the council wanted, was to get some more activities in there. I understand there's some, Jennifer can probably update too, but they've got they have some more events, thanks to Peter, being planned in the next few months, so
I think it would be great to hear some updates once in a while, or
Yeah.
even have
I
the
just,
folks
I
come
got
in.
there,
Yeah,
I'm
that'd be
live.
great.
It was super busy, there were kids running everywhere, and I was only there for a few minutes, but it was,
That's great.
it was excellent to get there, so.
We do try to put those in the good to knows,
Mhm.
you know,
Yeah.
to go out to
Oh,
council.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
They said one day there was 60, what was the number, you said 300 or something?
331 for the
One day
whole
was
week.
62,
Yep.
it was nuts.
That's awesome.
Pictures on
Yeah, so
Facebook.
Yeah,
that
that
shows
was
that-
really nice.
that the place is building,
Yeah,
so, as I think council wants, so that's good news.
for sure. Counselor Lovewell?
Well, I want to just mimic the well wishes for the Snow Bowl. I'm excited about that event, and we actually made the decision that we're going to close early on Wednesday to head up to Big Rock, so we can at least get to see part of it too. Because we will close early on other days to be part of something, and people can get their coffee before they come out and follow us out to one of the events. But you know what? We know it has not been easy with the lack of snow, but you guys are just being innovative and creative and thinking outside the box, and I know that that's not easy, but you're doing a great job, and we appreciate you. I appreciate you, and I just want to say that publicly, and just encourage everybody to get out there and support you and be there for you, like you are for us, so, thanks.
Counselor Bagley?
Thank you. Just one thing. So I attended the Housing Summit. That was last week. And I just wanted to report how impressed I was with the turnout. There was like 40-some odd people there from all walks of life in terms of the housing. And to hear the discussion in the room and to hear all the different diverse opinions and everything, and the Development Committee came, did kind of a follow-up debrief afterwards and tried to capture all of these things, and you'll be hearing more because they did an amazing job capturing all of that and really give us some good direction, some good ideas, some achievable things that we can do now to help. I see other towns struggling with the same problem. I don't see the sense of urgency and can-do attitude and action-oriented people as what we have right here in Caribou. So very proud of that effort, and I think good things are going to come from it. Thanks.
Thank you. Our next regular meetings are March 11th, 18th, and 25th. So item number 14 would be executive session. We have 2 executive sessions on the agenda for this evening. So under 14A, what are the wishes of the council?
Madam Mayor, make a motion, we go to section, executive session under 1 MRSA, section 405.6.c for economic development matters.
Motion seconded, discussion? Bagley?
Aye.
Kelly? Aye. Lovewell?
Aye.
Morrow?
Aye.
Smith?
All right.
Terrio? Aye. Motion carries. I'd like to thank everyone for joining us this evening.